All right, so welcome back. I finally made it back to my Facebook Live session, and I've got an amazing guest that I'm going to introduce very, very shortly. But we're having a few technical difficulties here, but hey, we're able to overcome them and keep going. So I've got Chris Dube who's here, and we're going to be talking about how to leave a legacy in digital leadership and some fascinating stuff in that regard. So I'm really excited to bring him online very, very shortly. And Chris is from Boston, so we'll get into that really, really shortly. But what I wanted to just sort of welcome you to the show, obviously. And today's topic, I'm going to be talking about digital leadership and how to leave a legacy. And my name is Doyle Buehler, and my goal is to help you better understand and pursue what matters most in your digital business and how to make a difference with your digital strategy through enhancing and embracing your digital leadership. In today's show, I'm talking with legendary entrepreneur Chris Dube, and see what legacy and digital leadership mean and how you can combine everything together. So welcome to the show, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. Sorry, it was probably on me why we didn't get to this until now, so I take all the credit for causing this to be a little bit late, so I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just wondering, do you have like a volume you could, like an input volume? It's quite loud at your end?
Okay.
Mind or?
Let's see.
Yeah, it's always a challenge to get everything right, but it's almost at that point where it's like distorting quite a bit. Sorry, I didn't want to.
No worries. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a bit better. Yeah, we'll go with that. Anyway, so welcome to the show, Chris. So please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Doyle. It was when we met through the influencer Facebook group and then connected on LinkedIn. We started watching some of the past broadcasts that you've had and looking at some of the stuff that you put out there. And by all means, it's my privilege to be here today and to be able to speak with you. You're doing some great stuff, and it's all accustomed to where you've been and what you've done in business. So, really a privilege for me to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no worries about that, man. Any value that I can add to someone that's doing great work like you I'm on board 100%.
Cool.
A little bit about me and my business. I'm an entrepreneur through and through. Come from an entrepreneurial family. So growing up, I saw my parents going to work for themselves. And through my life, I think that's left a pretty heavy trace in terms of if there's something out there that you want and you don't find it, you should create it for yourself. And the things that dictate the success on that border on what it is that you can think about and have the passion and drive to achieve. So seeing that in my parents throughout my entire life has just kind of got me to the place where I am now. Now, obviously, there's a huge story and a lot of work behind that over the past 18 or so years. But essentially, I started my first business when I was 21. I just moved to Southern California and started selling lobsters, Maine live lobsters, wholesale and retail to the people of Southern California. That was my first gig. That was my first business. And so from there to come all the way to where I am now, where I have SIMPATICO consulting and being able to help business leaders really build their legacy through a business that stands the test of time by helping them to manage the people and money and what time can take.
Yeah,
that's
what kind of business SIMPATICO does, kind of help build a legacy. And how do you define that as sort of legacy building? Like what are we talking about here?
So I think the most important thing is that through SIMPATICO and the consulting business, I've started to connect the dots and create these entities that at the end of the day all lead back to helping leaders in thought, leaders in example. And so when I say helping them build a legacy, what that means is with everything that you're doing today, you're talking to people, you're talking to influencers, you're talking to strategists. This podcast is an example of leaving your legacy, your story behind. Your source, I call it your source. The thing that drives you to do what it is that you do on a daily basis. Because I'm sure it hasn't always been this awesome, right? So
yeah, but today was the day I had all these tech problems. And actually, I had a live session ready to go, and the tech crapped out on me. So must be the eclipse, leftovers from the eclipse and the hurricane and everything.
It's got to be. We'll go with that anyway, whether it's that or not.
Yeah.
So really, it's helping people like yourself add value to what it is that you're doing, and really cement that legacy through. Some people don't have the message and the platform that you do. They want to know how they can get that. Maybe they're really good at doing something. They're really good at doing their business. What I do is I come in and I help them take that technical expertise and then build it with resources, build it with the support, and really through the people in order to allow them to take what they're really good at and then build it into a story, share it with their clients, get more of the same, and have success. That success grows over time, and whether they're in the business directly or they're not, that imprint is what their legacy really is at the end of the day.
So why is that important, though?
That's important because when you find your source, or if you're in the midst of trying to do something that really represents you, the way that I look at it in a lot of situations when I'm dealing with clients and or people that I meet through a business organization that I created of leadership, it's called Horizons, for an organization of people who lead. In some instances, you're very good at the business aspect of your business or the technicalities, but maybe you're not great at assembling a team. Maybe you're not great at marketing. Maybe you're not great at being the influencer that you need to be in order for this entity to grow to something that really does represent a legacy in your community, in your industry, and even globally. So really what it is that we're talking about is amassing the right people at the right place at the right time inside of your business, or finding them to join your business and then take your vision, what it is that you do every day, and bring it to that next level through mindset, through assembling the right team, through really building what it is that your differentiator is. So I have things that I talk about and terms that I put to all of these things when I'm speaking in front of a group or I'm consulting with a business. One of the things that I use is, what's your source? And they'll look at me and say, oh, I'm not really sure what that means. What your source is your place of inspiration, the drive, the thing that makes you get up every day and do this. And then they'll share that, because everyone sort of knows that. And then from there, it's, okay, how do you transform that into a mindset with your team so that even if you're not in the room, even if you're not in the business, that team will still continue to move forward with that source of power, momentum, vision. That's really the ultimate goal. And there are steps that you can take in order to, if you're just hearing this for the first time, you've never heard any of this stuff before. I mean, people like Simon Sinek talk about this all the time. He calls it finding your why.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. I use and put terms to it that resonate more with me, because it's that really that source that you're pulling all of this knowledge from, you're pulling all of this energy from, and you have to be able to communicate that through your words, actions, and message inside your business and then outside of your business. And there are very specific ways to do that, because at the end of the day, a successful business, a digital leader, a thought leader has the ability to take what it is that maybe they have innately in them to communicate, to use mindset techniques, to use communication techniques, and then
Where should we start then? Like, what's one step you could give to say, how do you find your source?
One step that I could, and where it always starts, is with the leader. Sometimes that communication piece is the most important piece to find your source. So that's really your baseline. So it all starts with visualization. And every single upper echelon entrepreneur, all of them do this in some capacity, whether it's Tim Ferriss or it's Simon Sinek or it's Tony Robbins or Grant Cardone. They all have their way of visualizing what it is that the outcome is going to be and then working backwards to fill to that objective. So there was a study done some time ago by a very well-known institution, a university, and it was 100% based around visualization. So they took 3 groups. The first group went into the gym every day and for 30 minutes a day for 30 days, practiced shooting foul shots. Then there was a second group that went into the gym and did nothing. And then there was a third group that went into the gym and then just visualized shooting the ball at the basket for 30 minutes. At the end of 30 days, which group do you think was the group that had the highest success rate from their baseline when they first did this and then after the 30 days?
This is a trick question.
It's not a trick question, actually.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've heard that it was the ones who actually visualized it in their mind, but I don't know, am I right or wrong?
You are right. You are 100% correct.
Cool.
So I was recently on another podcast here in Boston, and I know the founder of Boston Speaks pretty well, Kit Pang, and so we did a little visualization technique, and it's something that has to do with maybe you believe it, maybe you don't believe it when you see it. It's pretty much, that's enough evidence for me in order to really see that it has weight and value. Our mind is so powerful and it has really no limits unless you put them on for yourself. So what we did is he, for me, put his right arm up, point his finger out, and then see how far he could turn around. Then we did some visualization for about 2 minutes where he's doing the same thing that he did physically, but he just was doing it in his mind. And then he did it again. And it proved to be about a 75% increase just because he was thinking about it enough that his mind got him to a place where the physical action was much easier because he knew he could do it. So that really kind of leads to, that's the beginning point. That's where you start to say, okay, here's the potential I have. What are the results I want? And then from there, let's look at those results and then say, is this producing along the same lines that really going to get us to that goal, to that vision? And that feeds your source. That feeds the ability for you to say, I am 100% positive that this works. I'm going to share this with my team. I'm going to communicate it in a way that allows our team mentality to be unified on what this can do. Because you have a leadership team, and then inside the leadership team, then you have to communicate it to the rest of the group. Yeah. So I work with a lot of businesses that have 20, 25, 30 employees, and there's a leadership group of like 3 to 4 people. So how do you take those 3 or 4 people, excuse me, once they get on the same page, and then communicate that message so that people feel it in order to take action? Yeah. There's specific ways that you can do that. And so that's what I go about talking about.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, no, sounds fascinating. And you also talk about, in some of your material, your Bruce Lee mentality. Like what is that? And is there sort of a Chuck Norris equivalent or?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a Chuck Norris equivalent. Huge fan of Chuck Norris, no offense. But the Bruce Lee mentality, to me, he has a quote that's probably one of my most favorite quotes of all time. And it just kind of relates to his Zen mentality. So the quote goes, when you find yourself in a situation, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and then add what is uniquely your own. Yeah. So to me, that is 100% entrepreneurship.
I was just going to say, that sounds like entrepreneurship.
I mean, if you could hit any more at the center of the target, I'd like to see you do it. But so what I kind of teach and talk about it with the Bruce Lee mentality is, once you have aligned your source, the things that drive you, how do you start to build into that a message that the rest of everyone on your team can follow. So you should utilize the Bruce Lee mentality. Absorb what is useful to you in terms of maybe what it is that the old guard is holding on to. So if you're trying to, this huge shift in change in mentality inside the operation, what was there before? Take the key functionality or the pillars, so to speak, of that old way of doing things, and then bring those over into the new way of doing things. So you're absorbing what is useful, you're discarding the rest, which is useless, and then you want to add what is uniquely your own based on your clients, your target audience, anything that has to do with your differentiating factors, because you want to craft your message, your source, to those people. If you're having a direct conversation with specific people that you already know align with what it is that you're talking about, your retention and success on the message, the product, the service, whatever the case may be, is so much exponentially higher that it's hard to not see measurable results as you progress toward that goal. So that Bruce Lee mentality kind of allows you to say, okay, what is the most useful to us right now from maybe where we were? We're going to discard the rest. And then what is it that we have that is unique to us in this world, which is, if you look at it from a perspective of a lot of what's going on in social media, there's a lot of, I'm going to take pieces of this and I'm going to try to word it into something that's my own. Where if a lot of the activities that were based around actual creating unique content, if you just stop and think for a second, use your Bruce Lee mentality. What is unique to you? What is driving you? What is the part of your source that belongs to you and no one else? That is the most critical factor in all of this. If you want to have success, you have to be different than the other people that have come before you, or else it's just another version, a copy of the same old thing. So that's where I come up with, you have to be able to sell yourself in 10 seconds or less. So I call it your 10-second sell. When you get all this information together, people on average are only going to listen to you for 8 seconds. So however long we've been on, if I haven't intrigued them enough, they're probably, see you later. But that's the average attention span. So you have to sell the value of you, your mission, and use that mentality with your team to build your differentiating factor in your 10-second sell.
So what you're saying is that's hard then. That's not easy.
Maybe easy for some people. For most, it's hard.
Okay. So tying it all together, then how do you make a difference, with your digital strategy? How do you kind of connect these dots of putting all the different pieces that you were talking about, the mentality and finding your source, and how do you kind of connect that to your digital strategy?
It's the rubber, where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah.
So as I kind of mentioned before, all of this stuff is great. It's like this nebulous, like, ooh, this is all this great brain power we're using to create this amazing picture of who we are. But then how do we make it go? Like, how do we make it be a thing? The way you make it be a thing is to understand what that message is and who it can talk to. So what I would say is understand the needs of your audience. And most people be like, what are you talking about, man? Like, there's millions of people out there that I want to contact. Yeah. There's only 6 basic needs of all people on the planet. 6. So if you can understand what those 6 needs are, and then say, okay, this strategy, all this other stuff that we've done, what top 3 dominant needs can we talk to? What does our message talk to? So first you need to know what is the 6 needs of all people, the basic needs. Yeah. Number 1 is certainty. So that is the things that, or the people that want to know this is 100% go. We know what it is that we're doing, and here's the end result, because they don't want to put themselves out there. Number 2 is uncertainty or variety. So because people are fickle and there are 2 aspects to every situation, some people want to do that variety, that spice of life, the thing that makes them get up and go, well, what's today going to bring? Yeah. Then you have the significance, which is differentiation, the thing that makes you different or your group different than everybody else and what you want to project. Then you have connection. That is being on the same page, being able to understand them. And one of the reasons why I named my consulting firm SIMPATICO is because it defines the ability for people to be on the same wavelength and work towards achieving a goal on the same page. Then you have contribution. That's impact. That's the ability to affect someone else's life or an association or group's point of view and give something without asking for anything back. So that reciprocity piece. And then last but not least is growth or opportunity that comes in financial opportunities. Maybe it's opportunities to share. So these 6 needs categorize everyone. Mm-hmm. So if you can understand our message through using our Bruce Lee mentality is to get the people that are sure or need certainty in their life about our specific product or service. And then we relay that message in a way that touches on the significance factor of how we differentiate from all the other companies that could be out there doing this. And then third, the opportunities for them to grow as individuals, as a group. If you can craft your message to speak to those 3 needs, and you know those 3 needs hit the exact center of the target with that group, and then you deploy it in a way that gets everyone's attention, that's another way for you to ensure your success. So that comes down to the communication piece. What do you say? How do you say it?
Yeah.
And where do you say it to hit those 3 needs?
So should you be focusing like on your audience first and then their needs, or the needs first and then your audience? Like, are they mutually exclusive, or how do you approach that?
So if you're looking at the needs of your audience, the first thing you want to know is, are we going to have to change everything that we do in order to meet those needs? Mm-hmm. So if that's the answer to that question is yes, then maybe that's not the right audience for you. And that is a lot of the reason why 9 out of 10 businesses go out of business after the first 5 years of being in business.
Like 50% or more.
You're not talking the right language to the right people at the right time. Timing is huge, but what you're saying and how you say it has even more weight. So when you are looking at your segments, and I would get my message in line first, because you are who you are, your message, your source, all those things that make your company go. Though if you're trying to cater to an audience, it's probably going to be a rough, rocky road. So if you can get that straight and everyone's on board, then what you have to do is communicate it in the right way by saying, we've done some research and we've looked at it and said, and these people are said that they're looking for this. And that exactly aligns with our message. So then then the only thing is how do you speak to those people? And there are specific ways that you can relay a message in order to get someone's attention. Because like I said at the beginning, you only have about 8 to 10 seconds to get someone's attention, and then it's see you later. Yeah. So that communication piece, and how you communicate that message, how you first take the information, the intel that you've done on yourself and then on your audience, and you know that everything's in line, it has to come from a place of not what you do or how you do it, but why you're doing it. Our brains focus on nothing that has to do with language. It has to do with a feeling. So when you hear someone like Simon Sinek get up there and talk about, why do you do this? Like, why is your company around? When you hear Tony Robbins, why do you want to achieve losing 50 pounds? Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have the answer to that. So you have to have the answer to that through understanding your needs, understanding what it is that your company can do to overcome that problem, and then talk about it like this.
Wow. That's some deep stuff, Chris.
It is deep, but if you look at the way that it comes out, the result that you can get.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, is that most entrepreneurs and most business people kind of go at this level, whereas you're running deep. You want to be running those whys and those, all the deep stuff that says, hey, you can be sort of strategic, but you have to sort of understand the primary benefit, the primary value that you're able to provide, and looking at the needs and looking at these sort of base patterns that we kind of need to put in place. So yeah, it's fascinating.
And in some of the, like Gary Vaynerchuk, huge fan of Gary.
Yeah.
He if you asked him 8 years ago, would you be where you are now? He would say 100% yes. So he's 100% clear on his source, like where he gets his drive from. In his mind, he believes he can do whatever he wants, and he probably can, because he's got his mind in a place that is results driven. So now it's just, how do I talk to you in order for you to see that me, Gary Vaynerchuk, can do whatever it is that I want, and then just repeat that over and over and over. I mean, the message doesn't change. It doesn't come from a different place. It's just the way he communicates it is the factor that changes. So you have to understand how to speak to that audience, maintain that audience by making these small pivots and adjustments.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done any of that work up to this point of anything that we've talked about, then you're not going to get to that place. It takes brain power, it takes thinking, and it takes getting people all on the same page to be rowing in the same direction. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. So the ability to use these little techniques that I have picked up and use gets instant results with groups and individual visionaries that may have not had these tools before we started the conversation. That's what powers me in my source, and to do more of the same going forward.
No, that's excellent. Thank you so much for your insights, Chris. They're very, very impressive, and I've learned a lot as well as we've talked through this. How can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I first and foremost want to, again, thank you for having me on. As I said, it's a privilege to be speaking with you and to be part of these groups, and I want to continue to add value to your business and to the business of any of your followers any way that I can.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So you can get a hold of me on my website, which is www.simpatico, that's SIMPATICO-consulting.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Christopher Dube, that's CHRISTOPHERDUBE. And then you can also get a hold of me on Twitter at HRChristopherD. So those are the top three big ones, and then everything else kind of branches out from there. But
perfect.
Top three.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So once again, thank you so much, Chris, for joining me, and thanks everybody for watching. And as I go through this, if you've been watching along, there's sort of three categories that I talk about as part of these digital leadership Facebook Live events. The state of digital, where I talk about specific ideas and insights happening now and how they affect your business and what you can do about it. That's on Monday. And the digital leadership guest today, I had the pleasure of Chris Dube talking with me, and we'll be doing that every Wednesdays as well. And then on Fridays, I have a digital discovery strategy and marketing question and answer where we're able to go through sort of challenges and that sort of thing. So once again, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate your time. And for everybody else, if you have any questions, any feedback, any challenges, please post them, and we'll see you guys online. Thank you.
Thanks.